Hey, Russell here, aka Bell and Circuit. We're gonna look at a remix I did for a band from DeKalb/Chicago called Things Falling Apart. This was the first remix they asked me to do, and it comes from a live session that they played on a student radio station, I believe, there. And a lot of the material that I got was kind of the goofing around, getting set up, getting sounds, getting tuned up, and so forth, which actually were part of the tracks that they sent me. We made a very chill, low key. I didn't really use any of the like sort of big drums that were in the actual song. It ended up being kind of a hybrid of krautrock and Tortoise, maybe. I don't know, you decide. Anyway, let's get into it. So this song was from a live set. The tracks that they gave me were separated, although there was a ton of bleed, and we'll get to that later. There was a bunch of stuff of them warming up and kind of, as we used to say in orchestra class way back in middle school, pre-concert jumble. A lot of just sounds. And the intro percussion, and indeed much of the percussion throughout this track, were built based on little snippets of things that Ben, the drummer, was doing before they started. There's also a few other bits and bobs of guitar stuff that I grabbed out of that before the song actually started. That's how the whole intro was built, using those kinds of sounds. Starts out with these pads that were just some random ambient things that I isolated and grabbed. And then we get this little shuffle with some delay on it. So some clunks and clicks, and ended up building this we move into this section where I'm adding in guitar swells, and then we get to this this falling sound, and that was built using a sample, obviously, but that's what the original sample sounds like. So I created an instrument out of it and then was able to play it on the keyboard, and then you get something like this. So there's a bunch of ambience on it. I'm just playing that sample into a melody that I liked and wanted to make work with the rest of the stuff. And then we get into a different kit that I built with kick and snare and hat that came from that beginning section where everyone was just warming up, and I tried to grab hits from there. So when the drums come in, it's just this very basic, minimal beat. Next section. The clicks and pops, rhythmic percussion stuff continues here, and then a bit of a beat, very mellow beat comes in as we're adding more swells. And then when we get to the next section, the drum beat picks up a little bit. We get a little more. And this section is really built around this kind of tortoisey bass phrase and this little scratchy, snaky guitar sound. We also have this screech sound, which is a really loud guitar, but kind of pushed to the back and abstracted in a sense because it's so atmospheric. But it was a really loud track. Ended up making it more of a kind of a synthy figure. Then we have a little sort of, I don't know if it was improvised in the actual track, but it's very sort of free and loose here, and so this kind of made the track that was very kind of robotic feeling, it kind of gave it a little more push and pull. Then there's this drastic change in the middle where I just chopped up a bunch of ambience and kind of chucked it in. Again with the tortoisey bass chunks. And then the sort of lead bass figure comes in with just the skittering percussion. And then eventually we go back to the plucked kind of bass and guitar figures with the falling pad sounds. If you look at my original project name, it was TFA Chill AF. So the idea was to make this a very down-tempo track that succeeded pretty well.